Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Ask the Accountant, episode number 168. The date's the 19th of January, 2026. I was going to do the how long we got until the deadline, but I removed my counter from Engager because it was stressing me out too much. So, um, is it 11 days, something like that? I'm sure you guys know more than, I'm sure you guys are fully aware of how long's left. Hello, welcome to Ask the Accountant, part of the Ask the Accountant Network, a podcast network for accountants, bookkeepers, supported by our Patreon community. Speaking of which, we start each and every show with a shout out to the coolest of cool listeners, who are Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks chap. I think I've got like 1 week left until I lose my status as number one. Paul Whitehouse, Kirsty St. John, Mahal, and we have a new coolest of cool listeners. That means we get to play the little. Did we decide what we play? For
round of applause.
Round of applause. So we get to play the round of applause for Millie over at TCS. So welcome to the Cool Listeners group. If you'd like to join as a cool listener, visit our Patreon page, found via our links below, for bonus content and an opportunity to be on this coveted list. So let's start our show with what we always do, and it's say hello to the co-host with the most, Mr. Johann Gory. Johann, how has your week/weekend been?
12 days, 9 hours, 56 minutes until your tax return deadline.
Still on, have you?
Oh, yeah. I'd start twitching and losing my place in January if I didn't have that on to remind me. Christ. But yeah, no, I am good. Slightly cold. I made a terrible mistake over the weekend. I installed the Hive heating system yesterday in the house, thinking smart controls will save some money on the energy and the heating. Saving a load of money on the heating because the heating's not turning on at all.
Ka-ching.
Ka-ching. It was a bit frosty getting out of bed, if I'm honest. So I need to go and revisit that this evening and work out what's gone wrong with the wiring on that. But yeah, all good. Otherwise, I enjoyed my first road trip of 2026. So yeah, that was all good. No issues with trains or anything, which was nice. But yeah, no, all good, thank you. How was your week?
Yeah, I've just been in the at home. I didn't even leave the house. Generally, I haven't left the house. I think the wife went on. When did she go? She went Friday night, so the Friday before the last show. And I hadn't left the house until she arrived back, and then we went out on the Saturday to take the dog for a walk. So I started to go a bit like, oh, these are the only 4 walls I know. So it was a crazy period, but it was worth it. I got a lot of stuff done, etc., and all that sort of stuff. So that was all good. I am starting to look forward to getting back on the whole journey to going back out again, because friend of the show, Jordan, was the first on it, because we go on the same train line. So you do LNER, don't you? We do EMR. Yeah. And our EMR has had a big upgrade. We've had brand new trains, or is it carriages? Is this right term? The trains, the front bill, whatever. But anyway, we've got these new fancy, like, top of the range.
And on this week's train spotting episode.
Yeah, exactly. But importantly, I mean, he didn't test it for me, which I'm very frustrated at, but he sat on the new train and he said it's like lovely, like much bigger, spacier area. And apparently we have Wi-Fi, proper Wi-Fi. So I am, this could be game changing for me. This could be Christmas could have come all at once. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. So let's go through the most important part of the show, which is a shout out to our wonderful community. Kirsty St. John was number 1, 8:30 a.m. on the dot. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Kirsty. Well done for getting the number 1 spot. Cheryl, CPS Bookkeeping, says good morning. Still foggy here in South Yorkshire. I wouldn't be able to tell you if it's nice or not. Well, I took the dog for a walk and it was raining, but it's still dark here, so I couldn't tell you if it's foggy or not foggy. This is Tim, isn't it? Saint Neo's Citizen, etc. Morning, 8:30 a.m. on my first. You got to be out of bed quicker than that, mate. You've got to be out of bed quicker than that. We've got experts on this job. The fight between Cheryl and Kirsty every single 8:30. Whew. Yeah, you were close, but no cigar, mate. Close, but no cigar. Damn it, second by less than second. You weren't even second. Third, mate. Third. Paul Ingram says, good morning, everyone. Trust you all had a great week. Hope you had a good week. And two, Paul Whitehouse says, morning up. Good morning to you, Paul. Hope you're doing well. Mahul says, good morning, everyone from London. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope you did too. Sue Green, wow, you made it here on time. Well done, Sue. That's your first starting the year off right. Well done. Good morning, everyone, and all. Lisa Lisa Mulholland says, morning. Good morning to you. Nick Moss says, good morning, guys. Good morning to you too. Susanna says, morning. Good morning to you. Ashley Lee says, 168 episodes. Wow. Yep. We're surprised ourselves. At some point, we've got to sit down and figure out where the 200 is going to drop and how that's going to, what we can do special and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, thanks for that, Ashley. Good morning, gents. Good morning to you too. Morning, all. Good morning to Susanna's bookkeeping. Good morning to you. Ashley says 303 hours, 30 minutes until midnight, the 31st Jan. Thanks, Ashley. Was that a ChatGPT special by any chance? Do let us know in the comments below. Kirsty St. John says, sent my last tax return for signing yesterday. Wow, well done, Kirsty. That's it. Get your feet up, relax, enjoy. Oh no, sorry. Start thinking about doing back returns now, because that's how it's now.
Payrolls.
Yeah. Down to my last 60, with about half just waiting for sign in. Higher than planned, but had an influx of last minute new clients needing to file. Yeah, that's been my biggest bugbear this year. It's a champagne problem, right? And I shouldn't complain about it, but yeah, it's the new clients that have causing us the headaches. We have Fog and Mr. Sidmouth. Well, hopefully it's going to clear up for you soon, Ashley. And then bookkeeping superhero Natasha says, good morning, or good morning to you, Natasha. Right. There we are. That is our wonderful community. Thank you so much for joining us, coming along. Right, let's talk about the first bit of content that we want to talk about, and that is we did a bonus show. Bonus show over on the Patreon network. So if you want to listen in, then feel free to come along and join our Patreon community and listen to our Patreon bonus show, where we discuss the events of 2025, and we decided which events we were going to commit ourselves to 2026 as well. The winner, I'm not going to say who it was because I feel like that's unfair on the Patreon community, but the winner of the event of 2025 scored a impressive 254 points. Now, the way the point system worked was we gave everyone 100 points to spend, and they could spend them exactly however they wanted to, whoever was on the show, including anyone who turned up to the live recording as well. And they were able to give out those points and dish them out as much as they want. We had a clear winner at 254. Then we had someone at 172, then 170, 107, and then it kind of trickled down from there. My question to you, Johann, are you happy or not happy with the scoring system? Do you feel like this is the right way to do it?
I feel the scoring system was open to biased and political allegiances. So no. No, I think there's I think we'll have to revisit this for 2027. I don't think it's a true reflection of some of the best shows out there, as it were.
Interesting. Well,
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that bombshell. If you want to know,
I hate to tell everybody that turned up and listened live, and all the people that were there live when I wasn't because I was busy, that they were wrong. But you were all considerably wrong.
I don't know. I think the winner was fine. There's one there that's way too low in my opinion. The one that came third last, I think, should be way higher. But hey, what can I say? And obviously, I've got bias to one particular event of the year that I think should have been higher. But hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Right. Let's go to our first main show, though. So, main topic, and our main topic will be. I'm sorry to everyone who gets frustrated with this, but we haven't spoken about it for a while. It's our old friend AI. But what we wanted to do was talk about and to be fair, this is the wrong time to do it because we've got so many topics to cover. But we'll crack on with it and we'll get on with it. But what we wanted to do is talk about actual practical use cases of AI during the silly season, because I have had on record. I feel like I was like looking back at like hours worked and all that sort of stuff, and like Paul was saying there about having 60 left. I was trying to look at like KPIs in other years and stuff like that. And I feel like this is the worst year I've personally had in terms of just extra workload, problems, issues. MTDs like there, right? So we've got a lot of clients who are transitioning to digital records for the very first time in some cases. There's that sort of stuff, right? It just seems like this is a really, really difficult, messy year than we've had in the past. But on the counter to that, this has been the first year where I've been able to properly use AI to help me kind of deliver the service, etc., etc. And I feel like I'm in a bit of a unique position here where I've got three different types of businesses now. I've got one very, 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 very small, where it's just me, like the Apple Core one. We've got one mid-sized one, which is like that Bofix one, and now one that's a more larger kind of. There's definitely more. They're looking after bigger clients, right? So I see like the problems at all those different pain points and everything else. And it for me, the most problematic one has been that Apple Core one, the smallest one this year. It's just been relentless.
I think you said this last year. That was
Did I?
problematic for you last year.
Did
Yeah.
I? Maybe I'm just getting lazier. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I just don't like doing the hours.
That's
But
time to put some
obviously,
effort in.
MTD is going to fix all this, right? So this is the last time I have to worry about it, because next year there's going to be no problems, right? Because of MTD, it's going to be an absolute walk in the park, right? That's exactly what everyone's telling us. That's what HMRC wants us to believe. To be fair on that, though, if I compare Companies House releasing ACSP versus HMRC releasing MTD, probably is going to be a brilliant position, isn't it? And then all we need to think about though, all I'm putting my kind of benefit on this year is that AI is the first time I've properly been able to look into it and probably been able to go from there. So, what have you got any practical use of AI in this year? Johann, go through, or is there anything you want to shout out that's been an absolute saver for you?
I can't say I have. I mean, we're in a slightly different position this year. So, was it November? We revamped the website, so that got sorted out. But in revamping the website, we did something very, very deliberate, and that was we made no reference to self-assessments on it. So
Ooh.
the only last-minute new clients we've had are from people from current clients referring us to other people. But we did that very deliberately because we're pivoting a bit to where we focus on it as a firm. So it's nice that that's worked. The rest of because they're all clients that we've had before, they're on softwares, they've got spreadsheets that we've provided, etc. So it's been a lot easier. The plan is to improve those spreadsheets that they use at the moment by using the tax calc export spreadsheet for the MTD filer.
So you're sending over the kind of predefined one, aren't you?
Yeah, we're setting the standard. We're saying this is the spreadsheet you're going to use to make life a lot easier. But yeah, we're using AI in many, many aspects in our day-to-day work, but that's not it. I suppose the closest to AI we've had involved in self-assessment is actually just writing chasing emails and wording them more effectively and more to get results, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the closest we've really come to dealing with AI in the self-assessment area. We've not really needed the whole analyze these bank statements, take these PDFs and put them into CSVs and stuff, because we use Analytics to get statements, and we're very strict with our clients of this is the tool we use to get the bank data. So yeah, for us, it's not been a huge issue at all. But I completely get that that's 4 or 5 years worth of refining and training clients in the team and refining our processes to get to where we are today. Having said that, I've still got 113 to file. 86 are not out for signing yet. 40 of those are in progress. The other 40 I'm still chasing records for, and they may not turn up. they're in that realm of, they turned up last year. Will they turn up this year? We don't really hear from them. If we don't hear from them, we just assume they're not coming. Basically, we've chased them enough. It's their call.
Yeah. I think this year more than any year as well for us. I think what's made it more difficult for us is we've been more strict on if you haven't got a signed engagement letter, we're definitely not touching you at all. So we're not going. Whereas before, if they kind of signed one in the last couple of years, we're like, well, will it be okay? It's always tricky, right? You don't want to put this barrier of entry up, but then you've got to be compliant. So you've got to kind of find that middle ground, right? And this year I was very, very strict on it. As you know, like the ICAW things that we've had, right, and stuff like that. And I was very adamant this year, like if there's no sign, so every client who hadn't wanted a one-off last year, they were just put as prospects this year straight away. Like they weren't even on our database. That's been really tricky for us to deal with. Whereas you're there saying, well, there's 40 there, maybe they're not. We're kind of at that point where like there could be loads left because they've not, do you know what I mean? They're not on our database, and they're not.
And that's why we don't archive or make them as prospects, because we want to see
on that visibility, don't you?
If this lot turn up on Monday next week, how much of a headache have we got ahead? Like how much overtime are we going to have to deal with? But yeah, it's the same we do every year, but we've got considerably less in that bucket this year than we've had in previous years, so that's good.
That's good. Let's quickly just go to the community. Stephanie Marshall says, good morning to you, Stephanie. Mahul says, enjoyed the bonus show with some interruptions being on travel through the tunnels. It's the worst way to enjoy the show, isn't it, when it's coming through? Arnold says, two guys chilling in a pool. Not sure this is pool light, but yeah, thank you for that. Paul Whitehouse says, Aaron the comedian, based on the fact that I was trying to say that MTD is going to solve it for everyone. I don't know why everyone's been so pessimistic. I am fully on board that this time next year I'll be on a cruise somewhere or something like that, enjoying January. That's exactly thanks to MTD itself. So how have I been using AI this January? Well, I'm going to give you 3 practical examples I would recommend wholeheartedly to everyone to give a go at least and see if it works. One that I think I may be in trouble for using, and I may actually break some T's or C's, so probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone else.
It'd be good.
There's probably a lawsuit on my way, but honestly,
but you know what? It's great because we're going to have video confessions to put up in court for you.
Yeah, exactly.
This will really help you out.
But the video confession at the beginning is me telling everyone else not to do it. So that's how I'm hoping I get away with this. don't do as I say, not as I do. is what I'm trying to say. My first use case this year has been the payment on account calculations. So I set this little agent up within ChatGPT in the business one, so it's all nice and safe and secure. And I basically taught it what to look out for and how to kind of do payment on account calculations and everything else, and made it so it generated a 1-page PDF. And all I had to do was feed it last year's or current year's tax return, the most up-to-date profit and loss by month, and then anything else that I thought was relevant, and put it through from there.
Okay, so
that to it. Yeah,
this is so you can actually. So this is instead of going. So I will just make the assumption that they're going to earn the same amount next year. So we put in the same payments on account as what's been calculated. Fine. Okay.
Yeah. So
that seems like a lot of effort.
Well, no, but HMRC will come up and just go, right, well, we'll just do we'll just do half of what you've done now and put it through. And then sometimes that can be really, really like painful for clients, right, at this time of year and all that sort of stuff. So what we do for them, and it's not a lot of effort, it's literally like what we're talking, a minute worth of gathering the data, putting it in, and it generates it for me. And then what I've made it do is it not just generates like a 1-page PDF of here's what the like estimate would be, here's what we think a new fair calculation would be, but also here's all of the T's and C's of if you're going to change it, this is the risk you're going to do. Do you know what I mean? Like we're putting it all out on the open of this one. So
you've had to go to AI, spend time building a solution because your tax filing product doesn't have that solution built in. Whereas I've got the what if planner at TaxCalc. So I go, right, this is the profit and loss currently, and this is where we're projecting it to be. That spits out the right numbers. I put that in there. They get a nice what if planner report. you see, you're having to find solutions because of inadequacies in your current tech stack. That's the problem. This isn't groundbreaking. This is just poor decision making when you found your
But
tech
at this
solution.
point in time, the tech stack that you're telling me to go to isn't ready for me, right? I'm waiting for the magical, what was announced at Fusion. I'm waiting for all that to come into place, etc., etc., until I can make a decision. But that side, like people using all different types of tech stacks, right? But having that as a quick little right, let's just do a sense check, let's put it through from there, let's get something out to the client. It's been such a time saver. Like normally that's quite a lengthy process. When we're adamant we have to charge our clients for it, blah 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 blah. All this sort of conversation goes down it. Not having to do that has been really good. This one's been really useful as well. So the clients who, again, I'm mainly talking about my Apple Core clients, but the ones who have been forced onto digital solutions for the first time ever. So they are nervous because they're kind of putting their faith into this digital solution and is it coming out with the right answers, etc., etc. The amount of our clients who have still continued to run in parallel their Excel spreadsheet or their paper records or whatever it's going to be at the same time because they're just, they're nervous about it all. And I've basically sent it over to me. I've gone, right, well, I've done it as you told me to on whatever software I've told them to use, right? But I've also, can you just compare the two for me? Make sure I've not missed anything. Which, as we all know,
bank loan repayments aren't a tax deductible thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where we've got one client, his weird and wonderful solution was that they did average costs, and then would always, anyway. But I've had all weird and wonderful in the past. But can think about the extra time it is that not only would you normally have to, compile this non-digital records, even if it's Excel, right? You've still got to compile it together, put it in and everything else. Imagine having to do that and on top of having to do it the more efficient way of using software and then compare the two for looking for differences. Imagine how painful that would be, right? That's where AI has become an absolute godsend this year because you get the one database, get the other database, put it together and say, just reconcile the two for me, find the differences for me. And then I can go to the client and say, look, you've missed this, missed that, missed this, missed that. This one's not, but you don't need to worry about. This one you should worry about. And then you can add some, some nuance to it as well. But it coming back and telling you what those differences are has been an absolute lifesaver because then I don't have to do the work, basically triple the workload that I've got to do to get that tax return out. I'm just using the software that I want them to use and that we've agreed to use. Got that all done and dusted, and then I've just used AI to compare against what they've done in parallel, just so that it's not a wasted, they've not wasted their time doing that, like keeping it in parallel, and then they get to learn that, oh, actually, you're right, I've completely forgot to bring this in, or I completely forgot that, whatever it's going to be, right? That's been absolutely brilliant. The typical, and this one made me laugh, right? So I've got this one client, and she's brilliant. She's a lovely client, but she's also a bit of a nightmare where her bookkeeping is that she goes onto a banking app, she screenshots it. I think she does it on an iPad. She gets a pen out and she highlights yellow for one, like is income, green for an expense, and red for maybe I can include it, maybe I can't. That's her bookkeeping, right? So because it's a screenshot, not even a PDF, I can't even use aprons of the world and stuff like that to convert it. And if I did convert it for that, I lose all of the data that they've put in because they've no what do you call it, right? A OCR scanner doesn't understand if it's green, red, blue, or anything, right? And I can do it. 63 pages they sent over me via WhatsApp. 63 screenshots. That was the whole bookkeeping. And it was a Saturday night as well that they sent this over. But pro tip, Gemini is brilliant for stuff like this. Stick it all in a Google Drive, tell it to analyze that Google Drive, and it will just go line by line by line by line. And it will say what color code the client put against it, or if it didn't put a color code and all that sort of stuff. And then you can use that as the basis of it. And so then I was able to have that as like my base records, and I could fly through those 63 pages, make sure they kind of all total, make sure I didn't miss anything, all that sort of stuff. Made the process super, super easy. So they're my three, super easy. But again, in the Apple Core world, it's hard because it's like my nana's hairdresser who, do you know what I mean? Like she travels to and from whatever, and she mobile hairdressing, and like you just can't, like they've just done it that way since day one, you know. And yes, I don't charge nearly enough I should do. There's all that sort of stuff to go with it, all that sort of thing. So it's like, let's find ways to make this easy, and this worked really, really well. And then, so they're my 3 practical use cases, worked really well for me. Hopefully they'll help you. And then the controversial one, or at least one that probably would get you in trouble. So I'm going to tell you about it, but I don't recommend it. And that's the list of clients. So I of course I use Engager, so I've got that as a list of, here's my clients, here what they are. Well, HMRC don't provide a nice little API like Companies House do, right? So Companies House, I'm always confident that the database on Engager is always up to date. And for my other practices where I've got multiple team members, I'm pretty confident that that database is going to be pretty much up to date because we've got controls and everything else in place. When it's just little old me, and if I, forget to say that Doris has sent some records in or whatever it's going to be, it could, it's less of a confidence that everything's going to be there and everything else, right? So I've used Atlas. So Atlas is ChatGPT's agent, and I put agent mode on. I've logged it into QuickBooks, into HMRC. I've passed it my database of clients, and I've said, has everything been filed, yes or no? And it goes through client by client by client by client, and it will then tell me and come back with me telling me that it's either everything's been filed and at this date, or it's still not filed yet. You've still got to file these particular clients. Now, I'm pretty certain that that's against T's and C's because that's screen scraping, but it saved so much time. And then making that confidence of just being able to go through and check it was an absolute lifesaver. So thoughts, questions, go for it.
I'm fairly sure you are breaching HMRC T's and C's of the government gateway there. The reason I say that is because a prominent figure in the software world announced a while ago that they were going to do, I'm going to be very political here and PC, and use they, etc., rather than he, she, etc. But this person announced that they were going to do this big new software, and it was going to help, and it involved some scraping of the HMRC place. And when I had an informal chat at an award show about the concept to work out the potential legalities of that, is this a viable option? If it is, other softwares may want to look at it. There was mixed reactions to this. I wasn't a scumbag. I didn't name anybody or anything. I was just the concept of the thing. And I haven't seen anything about that software since the original shout out. So it may still be in development. I don't know. But my interpretation of the HMRC T's and C's is that screen scraping is forbidden and is against the rules. So I would be exceptionally careful with that if I was you.
I mean, in fairness, I watch it while it's doing it. Well, it's on a different screen while I do it. So it's not like I'm just letting it go ahead and doing it.
I don't think HMRC define it that way.
Well, that's why I did say at the beginning that it's everyone's risk and everything. But for me, it's been a lifesaver. Like, just that
when
idea.
Sam Wood and Craig Oldville and co are watching this or listening to it back this week, we know who's going to get an angry letter.
I send it. Like, honestly, like, yeah, I've needed that that little win and little opportunity to kind of get through it. But yeah, I mean, it does make me worried about the split between your MTD clients and your non-MTD clients going forward, because that, I mean, typically that job there would be something that we would get one of the administration teams doing in the other firms, right? Like, start of every tax season, we'll go through and we'll find out, well, who has had an issue this year, who has been issued, who hasn't. And that's kind of a starting point for our tax season, right? Like, we'll go through there and we'll go through that work and do from there. And that's a laborious, long, expensive job, but it has to be done, right? And the start of my Apple Call client tax thing, that's what I do. I'll spend a night just sat there going through, compiling. Well, first download the list, because that's a really useful list, right, that you can download directly from HMRC, and I'll go through and color code it and all this sort of stuff. And in the other world, they'll go to Engager and they'll keep it updated there. In the Apple Call world, I just have that separate spreadsheet as well running parallel, and it's like just a nice little safety blanket, right? But I'm not gonna be able to do that in the MTD world. because I just don't have that functionality. I can't get a client list, so who knows if my client A is actually, going to be on that list or not. That's going to be a frustration for me. And B, I can't because I'm not going through a list to go through it. What am I supposed to have, like, the UTR number next to it and copy and paste exercise? And yeah, and the fact that it's now on a whole different database, and it's just going to be a nightmare, isn't it? When we've got to kind of segregate our clients that way and have those two different self-employed and ITR clients going forward. I feel like that's going to be a real real pain point going forward. What do you think?
A decent practice management tool, because
even that,
we've already gone through and segmented in my firm's engager with a custom field saying whether they're an MTD or an ITR client.
But then you're going to have to look at two different databases. That's what I'm saying. Like, we can have all the tools in the world to make it easy and clean. And yeah, we've got that functionality, but I've still got a separate database to look at and maintain. Do you know, it's not. Whereas
but also,
before,
TaxCalc runs a report for us that tells us which clients are going to be impacted at which point for MTD.
Yeah.
So
but you're still going to have two different databases. And then going forward, because we got a couple of these clients where for 1 year they're going to be hit by MTD, and then they're moving on or whatever, they're going to thing or whatever, but they're still for the rest of time now going to be on that second and separate MTD database, right? So we're always going to have to keep an eye on that database opposed to that database. And yeah, that's the bit that frustrates me, because it takes away the thing, and having two different ones is there's a different place where I'm going to file the MTD reports going. But I know TaxCalc's got that really, really elegant way of doing it, where it's just you basically choose, don't you, and it'll just kind of choose the pipe to go down. But I think they're the only one doing it that way. Only one out of all of them that's doing it that way. Everyone else,
best in class, mate. Best in class.
We've created, but everything else is we've created a whole new platform. And in fairness, they've brought these new features to the new platform, and they're looking at it a different way. And it's there's this new fancy way of doing things and all that. So there's positivity because it's, bringing it forward and everything else. But that's still a second platform that I've now got to maintain my client base on and everything else. So yeah, as much as MTD to me is not going to be a problem with filing those quarterlies, I've no issues with that whatsoever. Absolutely fine. I've got a single problem client at the point in time. If anything, we're kind of ramping up capacity so that, if we do get an influx for that first period, we're ready to deal with it, sort of thing. That's ours for the quarterly. It's the annual one that's still that's why I still don't feel confident. I still think there's going to be pain points and everything else to worry about, and that's why I'm sat on it at the moment. So yeah. There we have it. Any more thoughts on using AI to get through this horrible season?
I agree with Suzanne in the comments. You're overcomplicating it. You're overthinking it. But that's your style. That's what you do every time. Whereas I look for the simplest route possible. So
okay.
Yeah.
So on that then, out of those 4 examples, how could I have simplified that further? Or any of those?
Sack them all. They don't comply to your standard. You can. They don't comply to the way you want to work. Sack them.
But I have the luxury of doing that in my other 2 practices, right? No problem. And we have standards, and most of the time you're not sacking it for your own benefit. You're sacking it to protect your staff, aren't you? Right? It's a problem to a staff. It becomes a problem to them. That's when it's right. Well, they've crossed the line. Goodbye. You're moving on.
You know what you need to do? Snack Apple Core. Just get rid of that whole. That's your problem, child. That is where the problems are. Because as you say, you've got standards, processes, and systems in place for all the other firms. It's this Apple Core of yours that's your headache.
But the nice side I have is because it's such a smaller part of it, I can be a little bit more loose with it. Do you know what I mean? I can try some things out a bit different. I can be a bit more and I feel like if I can solve those problems, then the bigger clients and the other clients become no problem whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? It's a domino effect, isn't it? You solve these little minute problems, which actually don't
by taking them off the table.
But if I can make it work,
they get behavior reform.
I don't get
if they don't take the behavior reform, they get removed.
But when they're your, like I said, your grandma's hairdresser, like you're not going to be able to just like, what am I going to do for Christmas dinner? I go to see them. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? And I've sacked them, or I go, and they've cut my grandma's
They
hair
should
in
have
an angle out of
stepped up.
spite.
They should have stepped up and kept their book. They're a business owner. They have got a responsibility to maintain their own business books. If they don't do that, there's only so much we can do.
Yeah, but they are maintaining it, aren't they? If they, especially the ones that have, you know, moved to digital because they've been forced to and everything else, and they are dead, but they're just not confident on it, right? And they're not like, I can send them as many YouTube videos and I can send them as many training courses and I can sit down with them for as long as possible. And they're
I
still
don't
going to
think
have
we're
that
going to change
confidence to
your
start.
mind on this, but I think the
Well, I don't.
problem's you.
I just don't have a choice in these ones. Again, the other clients, they get sacked because the staff want to be sacked, want them sacked, or because there's, they've caused an issues or whatever it's going to be. But this one, yeah, these ones are more tricky. Clive says, "Good morning, lads. QuickBooks in Ireland sending out emails to accountants and clients ask for AML ID verification for bank feed to compile with Irish Central Bank as they are an AISP in Ireland." I had something similar actually with the I got an AML questionnaire through because I was using their payment platform, their 'cause I was testing it for a video, their new Pay Now button with their new Pay Now provider. Um, I think this is just a compliance thing that they've just been sending out, because the one when I looked at the one I had, it was very much at the US market and it was very much US centric and it was all this, that, and the other. It wasn't actually a, for the UK compliance or anything like that. So I think it's just a, yeah, they're just they. What I would say about it is they make those emails look very scary, because when I looked, I was like, "Whoa, this looks very, very problematic going forward." Um,
This looks like
account,
one of those scary letters we get for cease and desists.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. And when it's coming through from there, and it just caused panic, doesn't it? But hey, I mean, they've just got to stay compliant, haven't they? Like, yeah, Suzanne says there, no, but Aaron, it's an excuse. I'm with Jan, but you can't. There is certain clients out there you just can't sack. They are, for whatever reason, and everything else. But at least you've got AI to help you get through it this time. Because imagine I was doing this without those opportunities, right? Imagine I had 63 pages to manually go through. Imagine that I had, to compare those manual records and I didn't have the use of AI there. I'd be in such a worse pace than I am now. Awesome. All right. We're going to skip the next topic and we're going to go with this one. Xero. The backlash seems to continue. Seems to be causing them even more issues. So for anyone who's been living on the rock lately, they've changed. Have they changed the goalpost? No, they've removed the grandfathering option, haven't they? So the goalposts were introduced because Engager was hit by this a long time ago, weren't they? Where you were being charged for use of the Xero data, you were charged for putting there, and you were forced to pass on that cost to a client as an add-on, etc., etc. But what happened was there was a lot of people who were grandfathered into, much like they've been with Xero for much longer, and they didn't have these new tariffs in place, didn't have these new cost centers to worry about and everything else. And Xero has also gone along and said they're banning the use of their data models to be used in AIs and all that sort of stuff, right? So it's been an ongoing issue, ongoing problem. But what we've seen lately is that the bigger boys have come out and started saying that this is wrong as well, right? And that's,
I think the announcement at the end of last year, where they said, "All right, everyone's now going to be paying for access to Xero, not just the new kids on the block." I think that has caused some frustration because it's a hidden tax. Like, ultimately, we're now going to engage it. Not necessarily because we've always been doing this, but because we were hit by it when we first started using Xero. But softwares are now having to consider, do they take this on the chin and a drop in profitability, or do we pass this on, increasing our costs, which is a stealth increase caused by that really should be Xero's costs going up, not theirs. But the bit that really has caused a huge amount of frustration, and I can see why it's so damaging, is no one other than Zero's AMLs and AI tools and language models will be allowed to use Zero data, aka your client's data in Zero, to teach AI models and LLMs. That's the bit that then causes massive headaches for businesses out there that have been or have got a business model built around that. So, obviously I speak to a lot of tech founders and stuff. Most people go and build their APIs into Zero first because they see Zero users as a more tech savvy early adopter bunch versus other platforms. And that's why they tend to build into Zero and then build into others after that, because they think it's the fastest way to market.
Yeah.
And then, so for them to do that, and then now they're not allowed to, like, if you're running an AI business and you're no longer allowed to teach your AI tool based on the client data in Zero, all of a sudden your business model is fundamentally flawed. So that's your first big problem there. I think the taxing, as it were, of the API, the charge to access it, is less of an issue. Is it right? Is it? I don't know. But I think the bigger issue these software companies are having is they suddenly had a huge wealth of data that they could mine and learn from cut off from them. And that's a huge headache for them. And it all boils down to who owns the data, who has the right to restrict access to data, or technically, and we've had this argument for years, like the amount of times I have to remind an accountant that they do not own the data in a Xero or QuickBooks license when a client moves from them to us. And we have to say, look, you are infringing on the legal rights of your client or former client. This data belongs to them, regardless of whether you've been paid or agree with them or not. This is their data and you can't hold it to ransom. So we've always had this issue, but now Xero are taking it to a whole new level. And it should be, in theory, the client's decision whether they allow their data to be used in AI tool and LLM learning models. So yeah, it's an interesting debate that's sparked because of it, as to who owns what and who has to give permission for what and who can deny permission for what, as it were.
Yeah, and I mean, shock horror here. I'm actually going to defend Zero on this one, and then I'm going to throw them under the bus. But first of all, let's defend them, right? So I actually don't have a problem with them saying that how that data is accessible, because it's the client's data 100%, but the client also has the opportunity to export and import. Like, there's nothing stopping him from doing that, right? They could take that data from that platform and they can feed it to an LMA at any point in time. There's nothing stopping them from doing that, and Zero have no right to stop and are not stopping them from doing that, right? The thing that Zero's saying is that, hold on a minute, if you're going to use our platform and you're going to feed your models via our platform, that's where they've got an issue from. And I feel like they shouldn't just ban it completely, but they should have some sort of monetization element to it. Would be a fairer way, right? Like, if these companies are going to benefit from basically harvesting that data, then Zero have a right to put a charge on that, don't they? Really, let's be honest, because they've put that data in there. They've been able to. They're the ones who are getting that data into a usable format, right? It's Zero's system, Zero's product, Zero's UI, whatever, however that is, but it's them that's provide. Because if it wasn't for Zero, that data wouldn't exist. That's fair to say, isn't it? Like that. That's where I feel like
it wouldn't exist in that one place in one state, potentially accessible for the use that they wanted to use it for.
But like, the only other option is they read bank statements or however, right? But then you've only got you've only got part of the story. You don't have the full picture, and I fully understand that Zero have the right to say, look, we've created this data. We're responsible for this data, etc., etc. They have every right to say, for you to use that data set, here's a price point, because there must be a cost. Well, there's definitely a cost in letting someone come into that data, right, and maintaining the pipes and all that sort of stuff. So I fully back that there should be that data shouldn't just be be given away for free, right? I get that bit. I'm happy enough with. I don't like the fact that, because tell me if I'm wrong, but they've completely restricted in some use case, haven't they? They said you're not allowed to use it for teaching LMMs and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
They've said that I don't understand that logic, right? Unless they, more than happy for them to say that you can use it, but there's a cost to use it, and it's X amount, whatever it's going to be, and then it's a debate: is that too high? Is that value, and all that sort of stuff?
And if they were taking an ethical stance on this, like, oh, you couldn't be using it for this, it's like, well, actually, that's the client's discretion.
Yeah,
So the client needs to log in and tick a box and type their name or something to either give or to either opt in to the use of it or not. It's like marketing. Like, they have to opt into it. So actually, I wouldn't be surprised at some point if all technologies are going to be told by the government, if you're using AI, your client has the right to be opted out automatically, and to opt in if they want their data to be used to teach language models, etc. Like, when you go into ChatGPT and Teams, one of the settings you are asked, it's by default it's turned off, but you are asked, do you want to let the language model learn by what you're doing?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see that roll out eventually by the government, but until then, even now, though, it's the client's data. It's at their discretion. It should not be mandated by a data processor, which is what Zero is.
Yeah. No, I agree on that, or at least, yeah. I mean, again, if they want to charge for it, or they want to have someone to have that data at a cost, then I fully support. But yeah, going forward, my other big thing though is that it's well documented that Zero aren't looking to do massive amounts of R&D at this point in time. They're not looking to change the software and keep up to date with it and everything else, because their priorities at the moment are acquisitions and other elements. That's why they're going to build their, trying to penetrate the US and all that sort of stuff, right? Like, that's where they want to spend their money on at this point in time, and that's their business decision. That's absolutely fine by them. But in my mind, I was like, well, clearly that's not a bad play if they're gonna, because they've got such a healthy third party ecosystem, right? Like let's be honest, like most of the ecosystems work better in Zero because of the good APIs, because of like you said, the early adoption and all that sort of stuff. Like, there's a reason that the third party ecosystem has absolutely thrived on the Zero platform. And when you think about where the platforms are going, and if you try and take them in, to their their biggest rivals, if they were a little bit slower to adopt, AI bank reconciliation, for example, right? There's probably going to be a really good third party that would have been able to do that for them anyway. So the perception is that they wouldn't have ever missed out as much, because they've got this really good ecosystem that was going to keep them at the forefront and keep them going. Doesn't this completely and utterly destroy that ecosystem model, and probably means that they're going to not only lose out on their platform being updated, but they're not going to have the innovation from the third parties either? Like, isn't this them really like shooting themselves in the foot here?
Definitely. I think the consequences of this are going to be seen over the next coming months and years, because there's also trust. Like,
Yeah.
for years, software providers have preferred to build into Zero first, like I said, because of the user base in Zero is seen as more tech savvy and more early adopter base. And something you and I've discussed many times is that frustration that people build into Zero first, and ultimately they do have a better API, but also they've got a customer base that is more likely to run and use something than other client bases are. But regardless of how good that client base is, as a new business with this information, do you decide, actually, I'm going to prioritize other APIs first? I don't know.
It's going to be tricky, isn't it? It's going to be tricky. And are we going to have because there's now costs involved and the prices have become more and more, are we going to have as many adopters? So are we going to get that feedback loop? Is it going to be as, it's just going to be a knock-on effect going forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not against there being a monetization method for getting access to it, because I feel like at some
you're not
point,
against the monetization because your mates at QuickBooks are doing the same thing. But to be fair to
but
QuickBooks, there is a very high threshold to pass for data points before you hit the paid for tiers. So if you're hitting those tiers, it's because you've got the base to be able to fund some payments towards using an API. But QuickBooks also at this time are not banning you from using the data within that system for AI learning and LLMs and stuff. So,
yeah.
but if as you've said many a time, like once Xero do something, or once Sage do something, or once QuickBooks does something, the others may risk following.
Yeah.
Like,
and why wouldn't you, right? That's what the market says.
Yeah. Xero have charged for API access for a long time. So QuickBooks have decided, right, we'll do the same. So how long until QuickBooks goes, oh, well, Xero set the precedent here of not allowing their data to be used for AI and LLMs, we'll do the same. And actually, those two doing that is hugely challenging and damaging to the innovation in our space for technology.
Yep. And in fairness, like from a QuickBooks point of view, they're on the back foot, right? So, and as long as we hold them accountable, their promise was if they start charging for this, they will make a better API that means that more things can attach to it, more data can come through it, blah 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 blah. So there is that side of things. And Xero they're winning that race, right? They were already the ones who had a better API solution. They had that there. And it's just created a sour taste, hasn't it, in everyone's mouth? But I do generally say though that there should always be there should be a cost to using that data, right? That data shouldn't just be presumed to be free and everything else, because they've got to maintain that data. And
there's a value on it, but also if Xero want to charge for the privilege of using this data, should there not be a compensation base for the client whose data it technically legally is? Like YouTube, for example, right? YouTube makes a lot of money out of the likes of us putting videos on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But in return, for those of us that have got a big enough client base, a viewer subscriber base, and enough viewing hours, we get a cut of the advertising income. It's tiny, but it works. And there's people that make whole careers out of this and have whole teams employed because of this model of monetization. So if Xero want to charge for the privilege of access to this data, should the client who owns the data not get a cut of that money that they're making toward, whether it's just a credit note against their subscription fee or whatever it is? Like, in return for you saying yes to letting ALMs, AI tools learn from your data, we'll apply a £5 a month, £10 a month discount to your subscription fee. That truly reflects that that Xero understand and agree that the client owns the data, and they're currently monetizing someone else's data without any compensation.
I like it. I mean, it actually going into being a fair actual model is probably unlikely, isn't it? Knowing that, knowing the ins and outs of it. But I like the idea. Of putting it through from there.
Let's cover Suzanne's comment quickly because I've read that article.
Oh, just received a notification from Accounting Web. Headline article: Tribunal slams AI use by advisors. Haven't read it yet.
Yeah,
I imagine this is advisors who are just not using it as a.
No, so this, for context, the bit the tribunal slammed is the fact that the accountants in question had built an argument using AI. So AI had written the argument to defend in the tribunal, and then they spent months refusing to declare whether it was AI involved or not. And so they were legally required to sign a fact of truth form, which they couldn't for various reasons because they used AI. So it wasn't the fact that they'd used AI to do the calculations or anything. It was they tried to use it to create a precedent and an argument to defend a case, and the precedent it used and the defense it used wasn't viable or real. So it's like a lawyer citing legal cases that are completely fictional to try and defend a client. That's all that's happened here. It's not the fact that they've used AI to record meetings and to transcribe, or they've used AI in QuickBooks or Xero or something. So this is part of what worries me about AI is actually the media outlets out there putting advisor slam for using AI. So if you don't read that whole story and understand the detail behind it, that for those that are nervous about AI or any new technology, that's a scary headline.
Yeah.
But actually, when you look into it, it's like, well, they're bloody idiots. Like, that's the equivalent of sending a junior staff member off to do some research and just putting that forward as an argument. You're meant to still vet it and qualify it and make sure that the cases that they're citing as a defense are valid and genuine. Like, someone got lazy, basically, there.
Or they didn't want to pay the big bucks for a professional to do the work for them, right? Like, and I think that's what's devaluing. It's not just our profession; it's all profession, isn't it? It's this idea that AI can be replacing a professional, service. Because how many times
reason to use it, like to help steer you in the right direction,
100%, yeah.
but you need signing off by a professional and validating that this is actually what it's telling you is correct and true.
Yeah, it's like I'm sure you've had the same things from your clients where it's not John down the pub now that we're worried about. It's ChatGPT is the new John down the pub, right? And clients have been told, quickly just Google say, "Oh, I should be claiming XYZ going forward, right?" And the second that they send it to you and you go, "No, not in your context. No, it's not because blah 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 blah," and you actually put a professional slant on it and everything else. Like that's the equivalent here, isn't it? You still like. We're not going to be replaced by these. It's just we're going to be more challenged by them, aren't we? And there's going to be clients are going to be more savvy and they're going to ask for more things and everything else. And we've just got to find ways to deal with that and deal with that efficiently. Other comments that came through. Kirsten says, "Well, if you keep them and let them break your rules, then you can't complain." True, but I'm not complaining about them. What I'm saying is I'm grateful to have tools to help me deal with them. We thrive on problem clients, says Paul. Yeah, we certainly do. And I genuinely believe if we can get the problem client sorted, the rest of them are an absolute dream. And trust AI is the biggest risk to society. Trusting AI is the biggest society in risk. Biggest society to risk at the moment, says Paul. Yeah, couldn't agree more. We have 2 minutes left. Quickly, then, let's just say digital ID been dropped. We yay or nay? So for every to qualify this, is the idea of having a digital ID card system, so that instead of passports and driving license, that we're going to introduce a whole new code, a whole new number, a whole new platform. It's going to be digitally for you to be able to prove who you are going forward. But that has been dropped by the government. Are we pro or against this, Jan?
Look, someone in the comments or watching this back will tell me I'm very naive and I'm a bit of an idiot, but ultimately, the government know who I am. Like, I've got a passport. They know where I'm coming in and out the country. They know who I work for and who I don't work for because of my HMRC filings and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they've got all that information already. Having a separate form of ID in my wallet, like instead of taking a passport or your driving license or something around with you, I didn't see an issue with it personally.
No.
So yeah, like they've been threatening this for years and years. This isn't a new initiative from the Labour government. Like the Tories were looking at this for years and years.
Yeah.
It's like Labour just tried to move on it in the hope it would help as an immigration thing and making sure only people that have a digital ID card thing have the right to work and stuff like that. But it was never going to achieve that in the space of time they wanted it to. So It doesn't impact us. We're still going to have to do digital IDs for company's house, etc. So, yeah. Sorry,
But this
Aaron.
could have
Bad
all
news
been
for you.
connected, right? Yeah. I feel like it's a wasted opportunity. We could have had a much cleaner AML process going forward, right? It could have formed the basis of that AML. It could have formed a much cleaner way for us to bring on new staff. If you were in a payroll bureau, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have sent out an onboarding form. The first question could have been provide your digital ID, and it could all been connected. You could have had your P45s and P60s all automatically connected and had this nice little digital web, and we could have had a much nicer world, right? It could have been so much easier than it is now. And unfortunately, I get the technical issues. I get that there was backlash, and there's certain members of our community who were creating a digital persona around the fact that, ironically, a digital persona around the fact that they were anti-digital IDs, right? Like there was all that conversation going forward, wasn't there? And rightly or wrongly, it was just an absolute. I just feel like this is a wasted opportunity. I feel like the pros and the benefits really do outweigh the problems we would have had. And look, they were happy enough just to half-heartedly release digital ID for company's house. So couldn't they have just half-heartedly released this one and
At least they'd be consistent.
yeah, and let us, just put on the letters. All right, your accountant will sort it out for you, because that's what they did with the other one. So it'll be absolutely fine. Final
Right.
comment from the thing is, I've had the same issue with Rachel House Post. Clients say that I can claim this, but it's not linked to the circumstances. Yeah, and that's what we're there to do, right? To tell them, right? The amount of times that you've had a client who's come and said, well, my mate gets a refund every year because they're CIS, and this one's not CIS. Like, it's the same thing. It's always what we. Johann, what final thoughts do you want to say before we wrap up for today?
Nothing from me. Just busy week ahead, so I need to shoot off as soon as I can.
Awesome. Hello to all the Instagram people, because we forgot to talk about you all the way through. But hello, hope you're having a good time, etc., etc. Right, that's it then. This has been another great week of ASICAN. We'll see you same time, same place next week for another exciting episode, and we'll talk about it then. It is a bye from me,
and a goodbye from me.
Cheerio, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.